Well, I have to admit that that's not something that I've been doing.
Oh, goodness. Vernesta, how are you?
Hi, I'm fine. How are you?
Good.
It's good seeing you.
Well, ma'am.
It is good to see you.
Nice to see you also. Mr. Collier, I see you over there being quiet.
Oh, I'm doing a little work. It's good to see you. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you. Smile, Nathan. It's not that bad.
I'm trying. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Literally and figuratively, yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
All right. I think the mayor is on audio. Mayor, are you on?
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Yes, ma'am.
It's 8:30. You want to go ahead and take it away?
Okay. I'm here at the 401 Pine Building. I have Mr. DeMott helping me if anything goes wrong. But if you bear with me, I think the first thing we need to do is call the meeting to order. But we have a roll call to make sure we have a quorum. Is Dr. Adams on the line? He is not. Is Ms. Battle on the line? She is not. Is Mr. Deal on the line?
Yes, I am, Mayor. Good morning.
Good morning to you, Ms. Deal. And is Mr. Logue on the line?
Yes, sir. I'm here. Good morning, Mayor.
Well, we have a quorum. If Dr. Adams and Ms. Battle join in later, I don't know if they're having technical difficulties. Do you think we should call them? Before, can we proceed?
I spoke with both of them on yesterday, and they said that they would be connecting.
Okay.
Miss Battle just popped on the screen.
Okay. And well, can the record show that Ms. Battle, are you on the line?
Miss Battle, can you unmute to join us? The mayor's asking, calling the roll call.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Yes. Sorry about that.
Okay. If y'all will let me know if Dr. Adams gets on the line. But with that, we have a quorum, and we will, the first item on the agenda is consideration for approval, the minutes from the last meeting, which was held on March 12th. I think we've had a meeting canceled due to the pandemic. Have the members of the board had an opportunity to review the minutes?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Does anyone have any objection, any errors or omissions in the minutes as circulated?
No, sir.
With that, I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the March 12th meeting.
Motion to approve. This is
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, and that's Mr. Deal. Is there any discussion? There being no discussion, I would entertain I would call the roll. If I can go, I'll go by alphabetically, if y'all don't mind. Dr. Adams. Dr. Adams is not joined. Ms. Battle.
Here.
Oh, I mean, we're voting on approving the minutes.
Yes, I approve. I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Deal?
I approve.
Mr. Logue?
Approve.
Okay, thank you. The next item on the agenda is a request. Is this Mr. Norman? Would you like to speak to this? It is a request to install a well. I know install a well at 1806 Groves Lane. Are you on the line, Mr. Norman?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Would you explain this item?
Yes, sir. The normal process, our
or the permitting authority to drill a well in Daugherty County is the Daugherty County Health Department. But their initial process is anybody applying for a permit must first get the Albany Utility Board's approval prior to submitting the permit. This customer that is requesting the permit has a 3.5 acre lot, and they would like to irrigate the property. It has been investigated by our Deputy Director, Perry Mathis, and he recommends approval.
Okay.
Can
you explain, Mr. Norman? I mean, I'm unfamiliar. Why does the health department require the utilities board to get involved in this?
Because the utility board serves potable water to the pretty much the entire county, so they make sure that we approve it and there's no conflicts before they issue approval.
Okay, thank you. Any member of the board have any questions for Mr. Norman? Dr. Adams? Ms. Battle?
Well, you know what? I'm new to the board, by the way. So I'm curious, what is the well for? Is this business or residential, or what is it?
It is a private lot, residential lot, and they are wanting to irrigate their property, irrigate the grass, and possibly have a garden area. And it's not feasible for them to use city water for that purpose.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Mr. Deal, any questions, Mr. Norman?
No, I have none.
Hello?
Okay, is that Dr. Adams?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, good morning, Dr. Adams.
Good morning, Mayor. How are you doing?
Fine, thank you. Mr. Deal, do you have any questions?
No, I do not, Mayor.
Okay. Mr. Lowe, you have any questions?
No questions.
Okay. Dr. Adams, Mr. Norman just made a presentation, a request for a permit to install a well at 1806 Groves Lane. I don't know if you had any questions for Mr. Norman?
No, I had no question. I reviewed the issue, and sorry about having technical difficulties in engaging, but I finally got through. I'm certainly in favor of it.
Thank you. All right, with that, we'll entertain a motion to approve the request for a permit.
So moved.
Mr. Logue, do I hear a second?
Second.
Who made the motion?
That was Mr.
Jim Deal.
Oh, I was about to say, Mr. Lowe can't make the motion and the second. Okay, so, okay. All right, so we have Mr. Deal with the motion. Okay, with that, any further discussion? If I could,
I have a question.
Oh, goodness.
Hello? Hello, Mayor?
yes, sir.
My question about the well, the public health department is going to monitor the use of that well and make sure that it's for the purpose permitted.
Okay, Mr. Norman, can you answer that?
Yes, sir. Actually, our water department will inspect it after it's installed to make sure there's no interconnections or no violations.
And I assume you could monitor the water usage, and if they were using $40 a month for 20 years and it ended up being nothing, or $8 a month, we'd know that they were using the well for drinking water as well, wouldn't you?
Yes, sir. We could monitor their usage through our meter. Yes.
Have you ever had that happen?
No, sir. We have not.
Okay. All right. Okay. With that, we could call the roll. Dr. Adams, motion's been made and seconded.
Yes.
Ms. Battle?
Yes. I second.
Mr. Deal?
Yes.
Loeb?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. Carries unanimously. The next item on the agenda, if we can move forward, is some modification to the HOPE program. And I think Ms. Petty is going to speak to this. Ms. Petty, are you there?
Yes, sir. I'm here. Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
This presentation this morning is to ask for a decision to revise our current HOPE program. This is in an effort to provide emergency energy assistance to Albany utility customers who have been affected by the COVID-19 crisis. The history is our current HOPE program was established in August of 2017, but because of the COVID-19 crisis, we are requesting a temporary revision to the current guidelines to assist about 1,000 of our customers with $200 toward their utility bill. We have $200,000 that's set aside with our Southwest Georgia Community Action Council, who usually handles our agency payments for us. We will revert back to the current guidelines once we've used the $200,000. So this morning, our recommendation for action is that you approve our request for the revision of our current HOPE guidelines. And we do appreciate your consideration in this matter.
Thank you, ma'am. Does anybody have any questions of Ms. Petty? Dr. Adams?
Yes, I do.
Yes, sir.
What percentage of the total budget is that $200,000? In other words,
I'm sorry, Dr. Adams, I didn't quite understand your question. You're breaking up.
Well, what percentage of the total money that we have is that $200,000? That 1%, 2% of the budget, or how much do we have in that fund? Do we know the amount?
I'm still not really understanding or hearing because you are breaking up, but I'm thinking that you're asking me what percentage of our budget is the $200,000?
Yes.
Mhm.
Oh, well, that is that money has already been appropriated through to our Southwest Georgia Community Action Council. They're the ones who usually handles that money for us, and it's been set aside over there. That's the agency that handles our agency payments for energy assistance through the year, and that money is there in reserve with them. And we would just like to use that money now because of the crisis. And what we're doing is trying to relax.
I guess most directly, and I'm not trying to muddy the issue, but do we know the balance of the money that we have in that fund for
Yes,
such?
sir.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. We have approximately $203,000 in that fund right now.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes,
Is
sir.
that all, Dr. Adams?
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Battle, any questions for Ms. Petty?
Well, Ms. Petty, you said there was a slight revision. So what would be the requirement for those customers who may be selected to, be entitled to this fund?
I think you may have something attached to your agenda that gives those guidelines, but basically those ma'am?
No, I didn't say anything.
Okay. Basically, those guidelines will be that they would have to be affected by the COVID-19 virus in terms of having lost a job, reduction of hours from that job, having paid medical bills or hospitalization bills from the virus.
Okay.
Any other questions, Ms. Battle?
No, none.
Mr. Deal, any questions for Ms. Petty?
Ms. Petty, no, I didn't quite understand this $200. Is it to be paid to the Albany utilities, or is it going to the families individually, or how is that to be distributed?
That customer who shows the need would apply for the agency assistance. They would apply through us. It would be passed on to the agency, and Southwest Georgia Community Action Council would do the screening to make sure that they met all the qualifications in order for them to get the $200.
Okay.
Any further questions, Mr. Deal?
No, I'm good.
Mayor,
Thank you.
Mayor, could I add on to that?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
To directly answer your question, Commissioner Deal, the Community Action Council sends those payments to Albany Utilities, not to the client or the customer.
Yes, they would come in, as they are paid, they would come in and they would be directly applied to that customer's account.
Thank you, Ms. Petty. Mr. Logue, any questions?
Just one, and it's more historical just for my benefit. Sorry to take the time, but how much do we typically give out in a year in assistance through the HOPE program?
This past year, we have not given out, I don't have the exact figures with me right now, but we can provide that with to you. But Southwest Georgia Community Action Council also gets in LAHEED funds. So because they are federal funds, they usually typically give those out before they get down to using our HOPE program funds.
Right.
That's why we have that amount that's in there.
Okay. Well, I do think it's a good idea that we are using the bulk of the funds that we do have available for those that are most in need, that haven't been impacted by this. So thank you for what y'all are doing.
Thank you.
Any further questions, Mr. Logue?
No more questions.
Thank you. One thing, Ms. Petty, if you know, I think Mr. Deal and Dr. Adams probably have some better understanding of this program, but for the benefit of Mr. Logue, Ms. Battle, and myself, if you know, you could explain where the source of this money is coming from, and also, I mean, the fact is, obviously now is an appropriate time to be providing assistance, but just some explanation of how much money is in the account, and so that obviously this program is going to pretty well exhaust the fund, I assume.
Yes, sir. We will still have approximately $3,000 in that fund, but it is funded through the city of Albany and through our finance department. Years ago, there was a decision made to give to fund for utility assistance through Southwest Georgia Community Action Council. This began in 2017. This may exhaust the majority of the money, but at this time, I think it will be better suited for our customers who have been affected by COVID-19. That will leave around $3,000 in there, maybe a little more. But because Southwest Georgia Community Action Council also gets funding through the government, through their LAHEED programs, they have money that's already set aside where they can continue to help customers with their utility bills.
Okay, if we had that information in the agenda item, I think that'd be helpful in the future.
I have a question.
Yes, sir, Dr. Adams.
That goes back to my original question. Ms. Petty, are you saying the total amount that we have in that fund is $200 and just a little over $200,000? And if we do what we plan to do, we'll only have $3,000 left in that fund? Am I?
Well, we will have a little over $3,000 at this time in the fund.
That brings me back to my question. My question would be, there's some medical speculation that we're going to have some problems within the next few months, that this, with the flu season and this virus may revisit us later on. My question would be, do we need to go $200 to each person, or should we have some consideration for reserving some of those funds for later on? And if nothing happens, we could maybe go back and give some more. Are you following me?
Oh, yes, sir. I understand what you're saying. You're saying, should we go ahead and exhaust that amount of money at this particular time?
Yeah. Should we 200 or should we 150? Should we just, so let's do it and leave some of the money for
Hello, this is Stephen. Mayor, may I help here?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
You going to answer Dr. Adams' question?
Yes, sir. I'm gonna try.
Okay, go ahead, Ms. Collier.
Yes, this is a budgeted expense, and as you know, we're coming to the end of the fiscal year. So we've actually budgeted for the next fiscal year. We send these payments over to Southwest Georgia Action Council quarterly, and it's monitored by the finance department. So I can't remember the exact figure. Marianne, what was the budgeted amount we budgeted for FY21?
I believe it's 7,500.
Anyway, we'll get you all that figure.
No, it's 70,000 for fiscal 21.
Okay, all right. So that's the answer to your question, Dr. Adams. It's an ongoing budgeted expense. The reason we have a little over $200,000 in the account now is because the Southwest Georgia Action Council that we have the agreement with to administer this for us told us when we set it up, and we wanted a one-stop shop because we know we had a lot of customers that were getting money from the LIHEAP Fund, from the Hope Fund, and from some other church funds. So what we were trying to do was collaborate our efforts with Southwest Georgia Action Council. The reason they've got the money is because they get hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars from the federal government. So they told us, let us spend that money first. We've been continuing to make those quarterly installments to them. So now we are at a cumulative value of $203,000. But we will be continuing to put money over there to assist our customers.
Okay, Steve, I understand and I trust staff completely. I just want to be sure that we would have some available on the next round. Thank you very much for the explanation.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions?
One question is a follow-up to Dr. Adams. I noticed in the information for the HOPE program that customers actually can contribute toward this fund. How many of our customers currently do that?
We at our last count, we had about 65 customers that were contributing to the HOPE project program. So they continue to do that on a monthly basis. They have about 4 separate ways that they can do that, and that's by a specific amount, by a roundup, by overage, or about for direct donations. So that continues as we go along on a monthly basis.
Okay, thank you.
At this time, the chair would entertain a motion to approve the proposed revisions to the HOPE program.
Dr. Adams.
Dr. Adams, is that a motion?
That's a motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
That's Mr. Logue?
Yes.
Okay. Any discussion on this item? With that, we call for a vote. Dr. Adams?
Yes.
Ms. Battle? Have we lost Ms. Battle?
No, we should. No, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Mr. Deal? Is Mr. Deal on the line?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes.
Mr. Logue?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. Okay, the next, any other matters that need to be addressed? Dr. Adams?
No, that I can recall.
Okay, Ms. Battle?
No, not at this time.
Mr. Deal?
Mayor, I do have one question.
Yes, sir.
When do you think we'll be able to resume the disconnects?
I actually had that on other business, but yeah, go ahead.
Okay. No, let's hold it till then.
No, that's fine. It is another matter, so let's let staff address that.
Last night I emailed you out the current status of past due accounts. It is considerably larger than normal. And of course, that gives me some concern. You know, we said initially that we did a 30-day stay on disconnections for electric beginning the 19th of March. But when the 19th of April came around, clearly we were not in a position as a community to take that step. So we've allowed the status quo to continue. And we are seeking some, we are looking at other utilities. Our thought originally was when the shelter in place ended, that would be the appropriate time. And we were surprised when the shelter in place is effectively ending by the state today. However, what I would recommend is we go with the original May 13th, I think it was. And Ms. Petty has been anxious to start to inform our customers that we are going to resume disconnects so that they can begin to make arrangements. So that's my recommendation, that we begin to notify our customers that we will resume disconnects on the 13th of May. However, you know, we continue to work with our customers that have severe hardships, and the actions that you took today to allow people to get assistance with utilities is helpful. Additionally, and LIHEAP has gotten an allocation of an additional $250,000, I believe, in the first round of the CARES Act for LIHEAP, and potentially more coming. So that's always very helpful to our extremely low income, and it's also very helpful to our seniors. But I'd be interested in your feedback.
I have one question, Sharon.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. My concern would be about the ability of people to follow the CDC guidelines about hand washing, meaning that the water needs to be on in a lot of these homes. So is our disconnect date consistent with whenever we can relax that issue? I guess what I'm trying to say is this coordinated with when we think that it will be safe for people to go back to, quote, the normal?
I think that we had committed to 60 days on water. And so my bigger concern, which is where we have our greatest liability, is really on the electric side.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I got you. I was concerned about the water. So you answered, we got 60 days on the water, right?
That was our original plan, unless you all think
so we got 30
longer.
So we got 30 more days left. Is that it?
On water, if we went with our original, not quite 30, it was a few days before, but that's certainly something we can consider, giving more time on water.
Okay, thank you.
And
If
part
I
of
could, excuse me, Ms. Subadan, I think it'd probably be appropriate for us to discuss this, actually, it having been brought up. If I can give you, and Ms. Subadan can correct me, the city manager notified me early on that Albany Utilities would suspend disconnection of water service, and a few days later I was notified that electric and gas would also, there'd be no disconnect during the first weeks of this pandemic. I think the board probably needs to weigh in on this thing. It was a staff decision made in extreme times, and it's probably the appropriate decision, but getting back to what Dr. Adams said about the water, I believe it's correct that if you have water but you don't have electricity, you're not going to have hot water. Is that right or wrong?
Generally, unless you have gas heat and your gas is paid up, then you're correct. If it's if it's electricity, if you have an electric water heater, then you're correct. You would not have hot water.
Okay, so that poses a problem if we're going to require or request that the public exercise these sanitation protocols that we're all familiar with. However, I think we need in our next agenda, I think we need more specific information as to the amount of the past due. One thing I just want the board to be aware of that's sort of been in the shadows in the last few weeks is the impact the pandemic's going to have on local and state governments. I know the revenue is going to be down sharply, and this is something we need to be aware of, whatever decision the board makes. But clearly, I think we need to move toward rescinding the policy of no disconnection, because certain folks are probably not going to pay this bill if they're looking at what their obligations are each month, if they know their service isn't going to be disconnected. That's sort of harsh, but I think that's a reality. And if staff can come back with some proposals and also the information as to how much bad debt we have, I think it's correct that if this goes for 2 or 3 months, it's pretty well a write-off. Is that right or wrong, Ms. Subadan?
I wouldn't say that it's pretty much a write-off. As I shared with you last night, you may not have had a chance to look at it. Right now, we're looking at about 1.3 million. Our concern, and Marianne really is the one who has her finger on the pulse, is right now the bills are generally low to moderate. The challenge our community is going to have is as the weather warms and we get into June and July, the bills are going to start to get larger because of increased usage. When the air conditioners are running, 24/7. And so what we're concerned about is, when the next cycle of bills start to arrive and our customers are already 3 months behind, it's going to be very difficult for them to catch up. And it will become a real hardship. And so I wouldn't say that it's a complete write-off, but there is a percentage of that individuals may walk away from.
Okay. I have a comment, if I may, at this point, a question to Ms. Subadan. Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And I think I sympathize with the staff because I know they're in a terrible position right now. And we certainly don't need for people to get 2 and 3 months behind, because I agree with Ms. Subadan. They won't be able to catch up no matter how willing they are to try. Now, but on the other side of that coin is, if we take away their ability to have clean hands and follow the guidelines, and maybe Nathan needs to chime in here, do we have any culpability if anything happens? Are we at fault or at risk? You mean, how are we going to look in the public if the allegation is made that they couldn't wash their hands or they couldn't adhere to the CDC guidelines because their utilities were cut off? And I'm not trying to throw scare in. I'm merely saying that we need to look at that aspect of it, make sure we don't have any culpability there.
Mr. Davis?
From standpoint, Dr. Adams, but you make a good one on perceptions and public relations. Thank you.
I mean, Dr. Adams, did you want Mr. Davis to give you a legal opinion on that?
No, I just want them to be sure that we're in good standings. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that would probably take some research. I mean, I don't think he'd be able to tell you right off the top of his head. I might be wrong, but any further? Yes, sir. Do you have any further comments, Dr. Adams?
No, I'm finished. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Battle, and like I say, I think we sort of modified the agenda because I think this is an item we need to discuss. Ms. Battle, do you have any comments or questions about this issue? And that being when you have to discontinue the policy of suspending disconnections?
Well, I have to agree with Dr. Adams. We're already in the hot spot. And, you know, we're in the spotlight actually. And, you know, suspending utilities and people not having the ability to really follow the CDC guidelines could definitely give us another black eye that I don't think we need. So, you know, we just have to approach this with caution, and we may have to talk a little bit more as we approach May 13th. I mean, it is a big deal. You know, it's a scary big deal. So,
Mr. Have any comments, questions, concerns?
Can I weigh in, Mayor?
Can I go through the board first?
Certainly.
Okay, and then Mr. Deal?
And have we checked around to see what other utility companies are doing? You know, for example, Georgia Power, Mitchell EMC. Could you hear me?
I did.
Yes, we can hear you, Jim.
Okay.
I think one of the bigger ones, they had suspension like 60 days with utilities.
Okay. Ms. Subadan, can you answer Mr. Deal's question? Or Mr. Collier?
Yeah, both Mr. Collier and myself and Jimmy Norman have been doing some research, and it's a little all over the place. I can tell you Georgia Power is positioning themselves to get CARES Act funding for their lost revenue. They're a private company, and so they're positioning themselves to be able to do that. Our efforts to get lost revenue as part of the CARES Act as a local government have been unsuccessful. And I don't just mean us, Albany. I mean, across the country, local governments have been appealing to the federal government to consider our biggest loss as a result of the crisis, besides human life, is the loss of revenue. But I can tell you, as of now, there is no willingness to reimburse us for loss of revenue. So we will be on our own. So I think what we've learned is, for example, Chris Power, I think is getting ready to begin disconnects. But several others are either May 13th or to be determined, and many of them are having the same difficult conversations that you are having. And so, you know, as part of our analysis, we can prepare an agenda item for the next utility board meeting, and we can provide an up-to-date status on what our colleagues are doing, an up-to-date status on the funding that is outstanding, and we can do a guesstimate on what percentage of that would be written off, consistent with what we've had to write off on an annual basis.
Mr. Deal, any further questions, comments?
I have a lot of empathy for these folks who cannot pay their bill. Obviously, this is a horrible time for Albany and Dougherty County, but at the same time, you know, we can't go broke trying to take care of everybody. My suggestion would be that we look to resuming disconnects, perhaps the end of May or 1st of June. I would like to give our customers adequate notice of what was about to happen.
Okay, anything else?
That's all.
Okay, Mr. Logue, any questions, comments?
Well, I'd just like to kind of build on what Jim said. I think that giving them adequate notice is appropriate. If we were to do it toward the end of May or 1st of June, that would give them 30 days notice if we go ahead and get the word out. But we also have to remember that as large as our hearts would like to be, we can't always do everything that we want to do to help others. And at the same time, we have helped through a critical time when the federal government was getting their act together. And for the folks that are truly impacted by COVID-19 and have lost their jobs or lost hours, there are funds coming from the federal government that should assist them in paying critical items, one of which I think should be the utilities. But sometimes hard decisions do have to be made. Let's just be conscientious about how we do it. As Dr. Adams said, let's make sure that we're taking all factors into account. And with assistance from HOPE and LIHEAP as well, hopefully those that are in the most serious positions will be getting the assistance they need to help with their utilities.
Anything else?
That's all for me.
Well, I just echo what Mr. Deal says. Obviously, it's just a matter of simple fairness. We need to notify the public. I do want to say this is a difficult decision, but I mean, we need to remember that a lot of people who are on fixed incomes, they're still receiving the same benefits that they're entitled to. I appreciate the fact that this policy is really focused on people who have been impacted and folks that lost their jobs. But we need to remember, I don't think MEAG is going to allow us to accept less than the contract calls for because we had so much bad debt. And a decision needs to be made, and I would request that this be placed on the next agenda for consideration and decision. And any other matters that need to be discussed?
Mayor Jim Deal, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
From what I can understand from some of the bankers in town, a lot of money has already been distributed through the Small Business Association. And,
yes,
and we've got 166,000 in past dues from commercial customers. So with that being said, I totally agree with your comments. A lot of folks have already or really haven't stopped receiving money, and they certainly aren't going to pay the bill if they feel like they can get away without paying it. So I think that a 30-day notice is adequate.
Okay. Well, if we're talking about 30 days, I think the next meeting is the second Thursday in May, so that would be well into June.
Well, Mayor, this is Stan. Do we need,
yes,
along those lines, if we are going to give 30 days, do we need to have a special called meeting just for this purpose so we can give staff time to go ahead and begin providing that notice?
Well, that's 30, that would be today.
Exactly.
Yeah, it is today.
That's why I'm saying, you know, if to keep it as short as we can or as early in June as possible, do we need to have a special meeting?
Well, let me ask, Mr. Davis, can we vote on that today?
Sir.
We can?
Yes, sir.
Well, I mean, Mr. Logue, I would, if the members of the board are ready, I think we could go ahead and vote on it today, and we, this meeting's went pretty well, better than a lot I've been involved in, but the remote conference calls and all kind of difficult to set up, and if the board's willing, I think we should go ahead and take action on that today and let staff send out a notice. And that would be still, the public would have until the 1st of June.
Oh, that works for me.
That works for me.
If you want to have a motion, so moved.
Okay, before we do that, Stan, can I poll the board and make sure everybody's
Absolutely.
in agreement? Dr. Adams?
Yes, I'm certainly in favor of the 30-day notice to the public. But may I remind you that when we received those funds from MEAG, we cut them up into 3 portions, and there's one portion there I think that we ought to have. I don't know the amount. It should be around $20 million that we allocated, that the committee that Commissioner Postel used to chair that committee, and Langstaff was on that committee. I think if staff needs some additional money, if I remember correctly, they can put in a request for emergency funding, and money can be extracted from there to help offset any losses that they may have. Ms. Superdan, maybe you can look into that. I'm not sure what has happened since I've left.
Yes, sir.
Hello?
Okay, can we just put that as a item on the next agenda, and the staff can come back with an explanation of the MEAG credits? I mean, what funds are available to the utilities board?
We can
Is
do
that
that.
okay, Ms. Superdan?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Dr. Adams, the question was, can we go ahead and vote on this?
Yes.
Okay. Would you agree with that, Ms. Battle?
Adequate notice.
Yes, ma'am. And Mr. Deal, would you agree to vote on that today?
Absolutely. June the 1st is on a Monday, and that would be my proposal.
Okay. And Mr. Logue, you made a motion, so I assume you would have no problem with it.
Absolutely.
Okay. At this time, I'd entertain a motion to authorize staff to notify customers of Albany Utilities that the current policy whereby disconnections have been suspended will conclude on May 31st.
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay. Who made the second, please?
Brenda Battle.
I did, Dr. Adams. I think there were 2 or 3 of us. Let Dr. Adams have it.
Right. Okay. That's, with that, any further discussion?
No.
If we call for a vote, Dr. Adams,
Yes.
Ms. Battle,
Yes.
Deal,
Yes.
Mr. Logue.
Yes.
Chair votes yes, so we will proceed with the notice. Okay. Any other matters that need to be addressed at this time? Okay, then if we could proceed, items for the future agenda. Okay, let's get straight on that. Ms. Subhadan, Dr. Adams has requested sort of an explanation or update on the portion of the MEAG funds which were available, I think, to the utilities board. Is that correct, Dr. Adams?
There was 1/3 of that MEAG money was set aside for any emergencies, and as you can recall, we gave some money to enhance some business deals, and the last I can remember, we had over $20 million that were in that fund. I'm not sure of the amount that might still be there, but
okay.
The city,
We can,
of the utilities, and there was a third entity that could request an emergency funding, and I'm not sure of the logistics at this point.
Okay. I think staff will be able to educate us on that. If I'm correct, I think 1/3 of that money went to the utilities board for operating and capital investment, but we'll find that out. Any other items?
Mayor, I'm on that committee, but we have not had a meeting in quite a while. You know, Mr. Postel was the chairman, So I don't know who the new chairman's going to be, but we do need an update on that information.
Okay. Dr. Adams, any other items for the next agenda?
No.
Ms. Battle?
No.
Ms. Battle?
Can you hear me?
Ma'am.
Okay, you sent us a letter regarding outside consultant on all
Yes,
the
ma'am.
contracts regarding, can we talk about that or in the next meeting?
I have received a month ago, Mr. Fuller from MEAG sent me a letter and I have not responded. I will send everybody a copy. And he said that that MEAG was in the process of generating the documents that we had requested when after our meeting some months ago, and I will follow up on it hopefully next week. But if y'all excuse me, I kind of been
Understood.
You've been a little bit busy.
yes,
With the coronavirus. Understood.
but I mean, yes, we can. What is it specifically, Ms. Battle, you're asking for?
Well, no, I just know that you recommended an outside consultant. I just think that the people need a better understanding of,
Yes, it's still my intention, and I want to proceed with that, Brenda. But and we'll try to move, but kind of everything's in a suspended right now. And if we could, I would prefer that we just wait till we sort out of the woods, as the old folks would say. But we can move it if you want to.
okay, well. I'll let up to everybody else too. And of the people that are contacting me. So
okay.
We can
well
wait.
then, okay. With that, no, let's act on it. Could we put that for an item for consideration, Ms. Subadan? And one, maybe not if our first meeting in May, then certainly in the second meeting in May, sending out requests for proposals to consultants to sort of evaluate what our obligations and opportunities are in regards to the relationship we have with MEAG. Could we proceed with that?
We can bring an agenda item. I didn't get a copy of the letter. Maybe I missed it, but I do remember having the discussion. So perhaps if I get a copy, we certainly can bring an agenda item so that we can know how to prepare the RFP.
Yes, ma'am.
But we certainly can do that. I recommend that we wait until June. Brenda, you have no idea how full our plates are right now.
I do.
And so while people may be contacting you about this, even the action that you took, we have 5,600 letters that have to be sent out that need to be customized to each individual person about their bills. We're going to have to flood the media with the information to adequately notify our public. On a constant basis, we're juggling the COVID-19 crisis with our day-to-day responsibilities, not the least of which is budget, which we do
Right.
to bring that to you for you to publicly get information on the sewer and stormwater recommendations, which will be presented to the City Commission next week. We invite you to join in with that conversation. No action is going to be taken, but we're running out of time to get an adopted budget for fiscal 21. So we need to get that information both in front of you and the City Commission and the public. So while this is not an unimportant thing, I think if you could be so kind as to be willing to allow this to be readdressed in June, it would be greatly appreciated by staff.
Well, could we get a commitment that it will be on an agenda for one of the June meetings?
Yes, sir.
Okay, is that acceptable, Ms. Battle?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Anything else?
No, not for me.
Mr. Deal, any other business or items for future agenda?
Not really. I would just like to compliment you, Mayor, and the city employees, city manager, Subadan, on doing an outstanding job during this horrific pandemic time for Albany. Who would have ever thought we would end up being the epicenter of the state of Georgia?
Thank you, Mr. Deal. Thank you.
I'd like to echo that compliment.
Thank you, Dr. Adams.
We all would.
Mr. Logue, any other business or items for the future agenda?
The only thing that I can think of is in our minutes, we talked about the current structure on our standby charge or our capacity charge for any customer that wants to install solar panels. And we agreed, I thought, that we would put that on a future agenda as well. So whenever we can begin normalizing or moving on with some of the other items, it just like you say, it's all a matter of priorities. And so that's lower on the list, but let's just don't forget it.
Yes.
Anything else? Well, I too do want to echo what Dr. Adams, Jim, Brenda have said. You, Mayor, Ms. Subadan, Mr. Collier, all of you have done a yeoman's job in really representing us well.
Well, I certainly appreciate that stand, but I'm concerned when we might have to cut back on services next year. I think everybody's going to have a different opinion, but I do appreciate that.
We tend to have short memories.
Yes, I do appreciate that. And now it's my turn. I really want to go ahead with, that's one of the three items I had. One was discussing the what we're gonna do about the disconnect policy. That's been addressed. The second one, I want to go ahead and get this straight. I mean, I made that Mr. Blatacki and representation, so I want that on the agenda in May about the standby charge. I think $75 a month is reasonable. These people aren't using any electricity, and I just do not like the idea that we have a policy that's punitive, that discourages people from using renewable energy. Because maybe nobody agrees with me, but I think one reason we're seeing all this rain and hurricane, this pandemic, it's a result of climate change. And doesn't matter whether you believe it or not, but we have a right to vote on it. The other thing is, I would like us to consider a resolution commending the employees of the utility board. I don't know that would mean a whole lot, but I think that we do need to show them that we appreciate it. Y'all have expressed that today, but if we could have a resolution, I think that would be a very positive statement from the utility board.
Would the resolution come from the mayor and the commissioners? The
utility board, I was thinking, Dr. Adam.
I'm sorry, utility board?
Yes, sir. That's what I was thinking.
Both. Both would be appropriate.
Okay, yes, sir. Both would be better. And that's would be preferable if we could consider that.
I would be in agreement with that. And
well, Ms. Subadan, any other matters that need to be addressed or at this time?
Nothing too pressing. We are ready to bring forward the distributed generation proposal. And for the record, these individuals are using power from our system for the most part, and we will bring forward a recommendation that we believe that you can support. And we think we're laying it up against industry best practice and something that doesn't penalize either party. So we are prepared to bring that forward at the next utility board meeting. Pertinent to this board as well is electric vehicle charging stations. We are working on that as well. The City Commission wanted some more information as it related to our projected usage. So that is pertinent to utility board. So that project is being worked on as well. As I said earlier, we're going to have the sewer presentation at the City Commission work session next Tuesday. I do ask you to tune into that because it is so relevant to the utility board. And we want you to be, hear that information firsthand if at all possible. The other thing is you may have seen in the media that we are really promoting an effort for face coverings in our community. And we're asking all leaders when you're in public to mask up Albany. The record, and there's empirical evidence that demonstrates, thank you, Jim, empirical evidence that demonstrates that communities that mask are more successful in containing the virus. And so we ask you as leaders in the community to join us and mask up Albany. And Mayor, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you for your participation. Thank you for your service. Have a good day.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
John, how do I turn it off? Red button?